It's your boy, Famous Animal TV, who I got on the show here today.
Yo, what time it is? You know what it is, man. It's your boy Gatsby Randolph. You know, Memphis' own. You know, more champagne, cashmere, and caviar, baby.
Real talk, real talk. So, like, man, I see you all out in Beverly Hills. I see you on, on your Instagram. I see you with people like, Beyonce, Jay-Z. Like, what do you have going here?
Well, I'm a lifestyle consultant. From Memphis, Tennessee. I currently live in LA, and I'm just a social architect. And what I mean by that is, if you come to Beverly Hills, or if you're at the Grammys or the Oscars, and you ask who Gatsby Randolph is, they just gonna say, "Oh, this dude's like the life of the party." And most people don't know what I do for a living. They just know I'm just coming with a lot of flavor. But how I got here was I helped people get record deals, and then I took that experience from the music industry, and I started just making celebrities culturally relevant, no matter what industry you're in, actors to athletes to aspiring artists who was hot, but then they didn't have a deal. And I started getting these people signed, and I just took it from Tennessee all the way to Hollywood.
So basically, you like an A&R.
Well, see, what the A&Rs look to me to do, so let me break this down, because I know this is sort of complex. Most people think when you get a record deal, the only person who helps your manager out is the A&R. But the A&R works inside of the record label. So what I do is, like you seen the show Scandal, right? What Kerry Washington does for the White House, she's like the superwoman of the White House, right? There's a problem, Kerry Washington fixes it. If there's a scandal, she fixes it. That's what I do for Hollywood. So if you have an artist who's dope and he's signed to a label, right? But we need to get him on a hot date with, I don't know, Kendall Jenner. You probably would call Gatsby Randolph to make that happen. Or you got a situation where, you got a new artist coming in, and the label, people think that once you get a record deal, everything is settled. But that's not the situation. Like, the label can't do a lot of things for artists. For instance, you may got a new artist, let's say like Lil Pump, right? Gucci Gang, right? Lil Pump might be dope, but we need to have him at the Grammys, and the label has ran out of Grammy tickets. Who do they call? Gatsby Randolph. I'll make that happen. So I make people culturally relevant, and I do that for signed artists. But for the independent artists who don't even have a deal, you come to me, and the first thing I'm gonna do probably is go get you a deal.
Okay, so like when the artist first reach out to, so can like any artist just come up to you and reach out to you and things get going, or it have to be a specific level?
Nah, I'll work with artists. This is the thing that most people don't realize is it takes. This is just the nuts and bolts of the business, Unfortunately, as an independent artist, it's only two ways to get to success. And let's say success being a 2 Chainz or somebody or a Young Jeezy or known artists, right? Starting off to break one record, if everything goes right, it takes $250,000 to do it. Okay? Now, that is the traditional old school way. $250,000, you pay enough DJs, you pay enough platforms, eventually your record catches on, the radio station picks it up, eventually an A&R start calling you, and that's about $250,000 in about 4 to 6 months, okay? That is a way I suggest artists not to go about it. Do not do it that way, because most people don't have $250,000. Most people have $50,000, and then they hear me say this, and they say, well, we're gonna do everything he said for $50,000, and then they think that it works for about 2 weeks, they spend all of their money, and 2 weeks later, they're broke again. I would not suggest an artist to do it that way. The other way to do it is the way that I am suggesting you to do it. You gotta get with somebody who's already connected and plugged into the industry, who can just walk your music in to the person who can say yes or no. And that's what I do. And you don't have to be at any level to do that. I believe a hit record is a hit record. So if a record is a hit, don't spend $30,000 trying to be seen by somebody who I have in my cell phone. I can just pick up the phone and call them. If it's dope. Most people, unfortunately, don't know someone like me exists, so they wind up spending. Most people come to me have spent $50,000 to $60,000 because they didn't know I exist, and it costs so much money to spend to bump into me. You see what I'm saying? But if you came to me and you only spent $500, now I ain't cheap. You're gonna have some paper to work with me, but I'm reasonable though. And I tell people all the time, I'm taking my glass off of this. When I take people to a label, Eventually, at some point, if you want to go to the NBA, you can't keep playing at the YMCA. You're going to have to go to the tryout for the Lakers at some point. So you can put shit up on YouTube all day. You can put stuff on World Star all day. And to your friends, it's going to look like you're a rapper. And it will seem like you're doing what Rick Ross is doing. But in reality, my nigga, that's just an activity. You're doing nothing that Rick Ross is doing. It just seems like that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Rick Ross is doing what you doing times $1 million more dollars worth of shit from here to China. And that's why he's getting different results. So it's much smarter to say, hey, let me invest in my career where it's going to count. Because one of two things are going to happen if I ever take you to a label. Either the executive's going to say, I love it, get your attorney on the phone, let's do a deal. Or they're going to say, it's good, I may not love it all the way because there's several reasons that, and I'm going to get back to why a deal doesn't go through. They can make the guy not want to do the deal that day, but guess what? Now you have the relationship with the person who can sign you. So when you're trying to get a deal, there's only 7 major record companies that own everything. Okay? So if you look at an MMG, most people are gonna say Rick Ross owns MMG, which he does. But who owns Rick Ross's company is Atlantic. Who owns Atlantic is Warner Brothers. When I take artists to meetings, we go talk to Warner Brothers directly.
Oh, so basically there's no middleman with you.
No middleman. We finna go see Pablo. We're not going to see his underlings. Because if it's dope, it's dope. You know what I mean?
So like, basically like, have you ever just worked with some artists and got them to a good point and got them a good career or got them a deal?
Yeah, so like, when I was 19, this is how I got into this business. When I was 19, I helped Little Twist get signed to Young Money. And I realized then, Twist was 14 when we signed to Young Money. And I was 19. Twist didn't have Street Buzz at 14. Twist didn't have Spinrilla mixtapes. Twist didn't have none of that. Twist was talented, he was young, marketable. Wayne and Tez liked it, they signed him. The rest was history. So when I saw, what if I did this with a 14-year-old, the only difference was that I had a direct connection to Young Money. You know, Wendell brought me into the situation, so, you know, Wendell had a direct connection to Young Money and made the deal go through. And then since then, the list sort of goes on from, you know, big shouts out to Miami Mike. You know, Miami can tell you, Our Heart had a record going. It was one phone call. Our Heart had a record going in the record, and I didn't even know Our Heart at the time. I got a call from my man who was the vice president of Universal, said, hey, Gatsby, give me Our Heart. He's in Memphis. I made one phone call to Miami. Miami's like, I'm sitting here right with him now. The next 2 days, they was on the plane. They was in LA. We was in the office. You know, negotiated that deal to get a higher deal over at Sony.
So like, it's that easy for you to basically just take an artist and take them out the hood and put them on a platform they never seen before.
It's that easy for me to do that. Now, here's the thing. What I tell people, you can make it out the hood to Beverly Hills overnight. True statement. But that night may be the longest night of your life. What I mean by that is, inevitably, there's a process. But this process is going to be way shorter and less expensive than the process that you're going to go try to figure out and do. And that's what I try to get people to understand. When I came up, it was artists I was working with, like Kinfolk Thug, like Dump Truck. I remember artists, because when I was even at Tennessee State, in a radio station, there were artists I was working with. I remember Dump Truck was a really big record, and I was interning like a Def Jam, this promotional company that was adjacent to Def Jam, and I wanted to get them a deal. But by the time I got into the office in LA, the record had died. Okay, there was no Instagram, there was no Facebook. Swag surfing, we personally broke that while we was in college. While we was in college, we broke Travis Porter, while Roscoe Dash. You know, I went to a HBCU, the radio station controlled the culture on campus. So I was seeing how we was breaking these artists, and it would go from no one knows them to the world knows them. But for most people, in the best case scenario, but for most people, the record wouldn't go past Nashville or past Little Rock. It never made it to LA or New York. So I wanted to just design the system to where if it was dope, like you said, I could pick up one call, make one phone call, in 2 weeks you'd be sitting at the signing table in LA. Once you get there though, it's still going to be on you to close that deal. And that's what I try to get people to understand. I'm not God or Jesus or Allah. I can't make him give you a deal. But you can't either. You are either gonna get signed or you weren't. But what I can do is make that opportunity happen for you to qualify with snapping my finger.
Okay, so like when they get out there in front of the record label, in front of the people who, you know, who looking to sign them or whatever, do they have to just really like jump on tables and slide across tables and things like that to get their attention or get their interest?
That's a good question, man. Labels, what they really look for, bro. I get this question so much. What does a record label look for? You know, 3 things. You either gotta be believable or you gotta be influential. What I mean by that, if you look at Jay-Z and DMX, they came out at the same time, but they were both successful because Jay-Z was very influential. People wanted to look like Jay. They wanted to drink like Jay was drinking. They wanted to dress like Jay. He had a lifestyle of opulence that you like. So you want to be like that. DMX didn't have none of that shit. But DMX was so believable that even when he was talking about being a crackhead, you bought into his dream. You bought into his struggle. So I tell people, be one of the extreme. Be very influential or very believable. And then when you hit play, something amazing has to come out of the speakers. That's what I tell people. When people say, what about these people who just hit play and got a deal? And why did this person have to spend $3 million to get a deal? The person who spent $3 million to get a deal, their music wasn't that good.
That's why they had to spend so much.
That's why they had to spend so much. Now, whatever you keep spending money on, people eventually like, because that's what they're hearing. But if the shit is that great, all I gotta do is make one phone call, meet me in LA, we go to the president of Capitol, Atlantic, Warner Brothers, and hit play. And if it's that great, especially this time of year, we in the first quarter, they're signing you, and the rest is history.
Okay, so like I'm saying, so
and people want to sign someone who's getting signed. So the demeanor needs to be. I tell people we go to the record label, they don't want the next T.I. They want the next you. So your demeanor and your authenticity of whatever you are, as long as that's coming through, and you like, well, this meeting is good, and whether we gonna do business or we not, but you know, I'm keeping it pushing. That's the guy they want to sign.
Like, how long did it just really take you of hard work to get where you at now?
It took me 15 years. This was a plan I implemented when I was in 10th grade here in Memphis, because I just saw. I remember when I was, mind you, 15 years ago, if you was to go to the Shell Entertainment Complex in Whitehaven or to the Martini Room or to the Premiere, I was the only nigga 15, 16 years old who had 2,000 people coming to a party. Big up, what up, Sean Gunn? You know, so with me having that type of high school influence, I remember vividly the first time I heard Yo Gotti, and I thought it was amazing. And I remember maybe a couple of months later seeing him at the Shell. I remember seeing Kid Shine when I was in high school at whatever party we was throwing. I remember, so I knew that, like, when we play Lieutenant G in the club and everyone goes crazy, why am I not hearing this on major radio? And that was something I wanted to do away with. I mean, I think Self-Explanatory is one of the best mixtapes I've ever heard, period. Why did I not hear that like I was hearing Master P or UGK or Lil Wayne? And so I wanted to do something about that. And I knew the disconnect was there was not a Memphis executive who were in the boardrooms when these deals were getting signed. And I wanted to do something about that. Okay,
yeah. Like, if folks was to want to reach out to you and things like that, could they just reach out to you? Like, could they just go on Instagram?
I'm gonna be very real. I listen to about 300 records a week because I try to take, and I got a staff, so we try to go through, you know, the best records we're getting. But just hit me on Instagram, dog. It's at Gatsby Randolph, GATSBYRANDOLPH. So, you know, it's like I'm in this position. I'm 31. I'm in this position in Hollywood to where your dreams are a phone call away. I just wanted to come back home and get with people like you to say, hey, most people who I reach out to don't believe I'm real. They don't believe that it's a guy from Memphis this young who's in this position. So I just wanted to make it come to like the core of what a culture is and say, listen, man, this opportunity is available, and you know, come with your A game, but give me a call.
All right, so like since you've been doing this, and you know, since you've been, you know, putting on, have it ever been a point where you just wanted to give up or stop doing what you was doing? Like before you made it to the point you at now, like going through it.
Now, it's been several times, but I'm gonna tell you, entertaining time. One, you gotta be in love with the journey. You know, as an artist, you're an entrepreneur, and as an entrepreneur, you have to be in love with the gamble. It's a gamble. You know what I mean? You gotta be in love with, you know, shit. You know, waiting on the river card, waiting to see if the dice is gonna hit 7. And in that spirit, if you learn to enjoy that, everything you'll be looking forward to the unknown. You get comfortable. So I remember one time, you know, I had lost this deal. I lost, like, my first day in LA, I lost $1 million deal. True story. And this is sort of what this new film I have coming out, Project Hollywood, talks about. I lose this $1 million deal my first day in LA. Like, I get to LA, think I'm finna pick up a check for $1 million. I go to a meeting, it goes great. I gotta go to a second meeting. In the second meeting, this other executive comes in and ruins the deal. And at 9 o'clock at night, I don't have nothing, okay? And I work my way back up, and I get an opportunity for another deal about a year later. And the people, for these investors, are going to come in and give me this deal, more than $1 million. And right before the meeting closes, they assumed because I was in the industry that I was cool with Jay-Z and I could bring Jay-Z in to be a part of the deal. Now my back's against the wall because I need this investment. They think I know Jay-Z. And being from Memphis, I figured, you know, I can just make it work. So I tell them, cool, I'm gonna hit Jay up and let's see what he talk about. But I didn't know Jay-Z. I had never met Jay-Z before at that time. So my fear was, I'm gonna be somewhere with these investors. And I knew a lot of people in Hollywood, so I would be at a party and Jay-Z was gonna walk in the room. I was gonna be there, the investors gonna be there, but Jay-Z's not gonna know me and the deal's gonna fall off. So I had to put myself in the likeness of Jay-Z, at least to be able to say I've had the conversation about the business deal. So this is what I did, true story. The first thing I did was I needed to identify where Jay-Z was going to be. I identified where Jay-Z was going to be, and when I identified where he's going to be, I needed to do some type of hypnosis that's going to make him more familiar with me. And to do this, you have to see someone over again, like 3 or 4 times back to back to back, and they have to identify you with something. So the first time I saw Jay-Z, it was about a group of 20 people around. I walked up to him, and I gave him a cigar. Mind you, I'm not seeing Jay-Z at a gas station. I'm seeing him at some very exclusive event. So he assumes, well, he in here, I'm in here, he must be somebody. So when I see Jay, I said, yo, Jay, I don't have much time, but congratulations on everything you got going. I'll pull out this gold cigar and I give it to Jay-Z. I say, Jay, we're going to smoke that one day. And then I'll walk off. That was in LA. 2 days later, he was going to be in New York. In New York, he has a concert and he has an after party for about 20 people. I'm backstage at the concert after party. It was in his dressing room. I see Jay again. Jay sees me and he says, oh, shit, man, what's good? And then I pull out another cigar. I say, yo, Jay, here you go. We're going to smoke that one day. And then 2 days later after that, he was going to be in Paris, France. Yes, Paris, France, all across the country. Most people would have stopped in New York, but that's not where your blessings are. Your blessings are outside the box. So what do I do with very few dollars in my pocket? I'll book a plane ticket and I go to Paris, France. Now I'm in Paris, France, right? Now, mind you, I can't speak a lick of French. Only thing I can say maybe is oui, or, you know what I'm saying? Whatever, you know? So, I'm finagle my way backstage, and now I'm in Jay-Z's dressing room at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's gonna have an after party for 20 people, but this time, before I can even hand him a cigar, he's like, yo, Top, we got a whole bunch of cigars. Then me and Beyonce get cool, then me and Jay-Z get cool. Now, I am solidified with the Carters. I knew at that point, from here on out, anytime Jay sees me, he's gonna know, there goes Gatsby. So, the moral of that story is, there can be no limit to what you're willing to do to achieve your goal. If you're not willing to go to the end of the earth for it, it's probably not going to hit its full potential, if it comes true at all.
That's deep. Real talk, real talk. You know, I ain't gonna hold you up. I know you gotta keep moving and keep going, getting business out here. Like, is there anything you really just want to let the world know, let the people know who watching?
Man, I just say, man, you know, I got a movie coming out that has everybody in it, you know, and it's going to show you how I did what I did. But more importantly, even if you don't get a chance to go see the film, you gotta realize at some point you're gonna have to look in the mirror and say, when am I gonna recognize that I'm already great? Because I can sit here and talk to you about everybody who's ever won a Grammy who I'm cool with, but none of that's gonna help you. The only thing that's gonna help you is you realizing that I'm just as good, I'm just as great, and if the world doesn't know my name today, they'll soon find it out tomorrow. That's it. So